I'm going to be installing the P3cars Gauge. Basically what that does, I have an existing P3cars Gauge here. Let me show you how it works. My car's not on, just the ignition. However, it gives you codes. This is my boost. Gives coolant temperature, air intake temperature, ignition, exhaust gas temperature, throttle. This is a shift light, so you could actually set a shift light on here. Your current speed, and a 0 to 60 timer. So the way this one works is basically the second you hit the gas, it starts recording your 0 to 60 time, and it will reset when you stop. Other than that, battery voltage, and then boost again. So the track pack here consists of AFRs. I am a supercharged M3, so I'd really like to have my AFRs on here, as well as that 0 to 60 timer. It also has, I believe, like a 60 to 130 or 60 to 100 or 0 to 100, something like that. It comes with a couple extra features. The most important part is that since this is a BMW and it's a not new but new-ish, it's above like an 06, it already uses factory wideband sensors. So I actually don't need to make a new bung or buy a wideband O2. This little $25 chip here from P3cars just is plug and play, and then hopefully my AFR should show up. So let's test it again. Since mine's already installed, I have the wires that go into my OBD2, and I put the module up in here. So I'm going to take these 3 screws off and get to my module. I unplugged this, I disconnected my boost reference here, and I'm just going to disconnect this so I can take the whole little box. So now that I have the module out, I'm going to go ahead and put my screwdriver in here and right there and pry this thing open. Comes with pretty detailed instructions. It's pretty hard to screw it up, but what the heck, might as well follow them anyway. So here's the module opened up. Basically what we're going to do is remove this chip here. I'm going to get a smaller flathead than this and pry it open, and then you're going to be replacing it with this guy here. Be very wary about what direction it faces because it has to be specific. Once I open this up, I'll show you a little more. So you'll see here that I got the chip removed. That is the original chip. That's going to be the track pack chip. You just plug it right into there. Don't mess up any of the pins or you're not gonna have a good time. So be very careful about the orientation. That little notch that you see right there has to face the harness. In my case, with the sticker on there, it looks like it's upside down in the orientation that I'm holding it. I don't know why this won't focus, but you'll see that notch, and that's what you need to make sure is facing the harness. Pressed it nice and firm down. You'll feel it fall into place. It takes, you know, a little bit of pressure. And then we'll go ahead and put the lid back on. Now I'm gonna go ahead and plug this back in correctly. It's just, you just push it until it's closed. Excuse my mess down here. But I'm gonna go ahead and make sure the boost reference, that wire there, and the harness there is all plugged in properly. So I plugged it back in, I just stuffed it right back in there, and I'm gonna go ahead and screw this back together. Everything's put back together. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna fully turn the car on this time. Might be a little hard to hear, but I wanna go through all the settings and everything and make sure it all looks good. So here we go. So this was on boost, so we're gonna go ahead and go through the settings here. Boost, coolant, air, ignition, exhaust gas, throttle, shift light, speed, 0 to 60, battery, AFR. There you go. So now, I am supposed to be on cold start. My tune doesn't have a cold start. That looks a lot better. That 18 was scaring me a little bit. So this is what we're sitting on. I'm gonna let the car warm up. and then we'll go ahead and go for a drive and see what that looks like. So other than the AFR, the only new ones should be the 0 to 60 timer here, and I think I should be able to hit this button on the left to cycle through 0 to 100, 60 to 0, 100 to 0, and 60 to 130. That's the one I really wanted. So everything's working. I didn't change any settings. I just plugged in that chip and now she's working. So let me warm this thing up and then we'll go for a drive. All right, we're off. It's gonna be my first impressions. More of not how it works, because clearly it works. It's more first impressions to see how good my tune is. But let's see how it is. Sorry if it might be a little shaky or hard to see. I am driving, so I'm just gonna try to keep it on the gauge here. I'll bring it up to 4,000. See when I'm on throttle or off throttle, it's pretty obvious. Let's see here. Gonna let it fully warm up. As you can see, it's still not very warm. So I'm gonna let it warm up and then we'll do some pulls. Be me cruising. I know the wind noise is probably ridiculous, so this is just driving the car normal. Everything seems to be pretty perfect. I did one pull to like 110 kilometers, that is, of course, since we're in the US. However, it was at looked like 13 to 12, which is right where I want to be, which makes me feel really good about this tune with BPM that I have. Here's just me cruising. I'm mostly pulling vacuum. I'm not mini boost. There's really no reason to hit boost when you daily drive on this. So just cruising. It's right at 14. That's not bad for not having any boost. It's exactly where you want to be. Once I'm in boost, I'll show you a little bit. It immediately gets richer, so it's exactly what we want. With a $25 mod going from just a boost gauge with those other functions to having a gauge that pulls your air-fuel ratios, I mean, you really can't get any better or cheaper. This was a $25 add-on on top of this gauge. $25. And the install took me 3 minutes, maybe that much. And that's only because I do things really slow when I deal with electrical stuff. I didn't want to squish any of the pins or anything. But this thing is freaking awesome.